Every man has a destiny. Jim Harbaugh was destined to coach at the University of Michigan. Jim's dad, Jack Harbaugh, served as an assistant at Michigan under the great Bo Schembechler in the 1970s. Young Jimmy would hang around the practice field and stand on the sidelines during games. Here's a clip of him running into the end zone to celebrate a Michigan touchdown when he was 13 years old.
And I believe he pulled Duke offside. He keeps the ball down to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown, Ricky Leach! Touchdown, Ricky Leach!
6 years later, Jim Harbaugh was starting at quarterback for the Michigan Wolverines. Harbaugh started 3 years at Michigan, playing under his idol Bo Schembechler. As a senior, he was named a first-team All-American and Heisman finalist.
Man-to-man underneath. Oh, quarterback draw. Great call.
In December of 2006, Jim Harbaugh was named the head coach at the University of Stanford. This came less than a month after the death of Bo Schembechler. Harbaugh took a Stanford team that hadn't been to a bowl game in 6 years and built them into an elite Pac-12 program. In his fourth year in Palo Alto, Harbaugh guided the Cardinal to a school record 12 wins.
It's one of the great turnarounds in college football. 4 years ago, 1-11. Now 12 wins for the first time in the top 5.
At Michigan, things were going the opposite direction. The Wolverines had hired Rich Rodriguez in 2008, who compiled a combined record of 15-22 in 3 seasons before being fired after the 2010 bowl game. Most Michigan fans had Harbaugh at the top of their list to be their next head coach.
Unfortunately, athletic director Dave Brandon had different ideas. Brandon made little to no effort to bring the hottest coach in America back to Ann Arbor, opting instead to hire Brady Hoke, who had no experience as a big-time head coach. Harbaugh jumped to the NFL to coach the San Francisco 49ers, and it seemed like Michigan had missed its opportunity to ever hire him.
After a promising first season, Brady Hoke's team got progressively worse in his second and third years. Entering 2014, Wolverine fans were getting restless as they saw the team and the university that they loved going downhill.
Not only was the football team not performing as expected, but the experience just wasn't what it used to be. Dave Brandon continued to hike up the ticket prices, which consistently alienated alumni in order just to make more money. These two factors just slowly turned the fans away from the team they loved.
In San Francisco, things weren't going all too smoothly either. Even though Harbaugh had taken the Niners to 3 straight NFC championship games, his brash personality had created friction between himself and the team management. Going into the 2014 season, many experts wondered if it would be his last in San Francisco.
During Michigan's game against Minnesota, quarterback Shane Morris stayed in the game despite obvious concussion symptoms. Dave Brandon tried to cover this situation up, angering fans even more. The next week, students gathered at the Diag to rally to get him fired.
Fire Brandon! Fire Brandon!
I feel like just the level of frustration within me has reached a point so high. I've been a season ticket holder of Michigan football for the last 15 years, and I've never seen it this low, both on and off the field. I feel like the Shane Morris situation just put it over the top with the way that the athletic department and the football team handled that, and I felt like it was just important to have my voice be heard today.
Brady Hoke is out, and now Michigan begins another search for a new football coach. And that search is being led by a West Michigan man, Jim Hackett, U of M's interim athletic director.
Michigan found itself conducting its third coaching search in 7 years. It was a program at a crossroads, and everybody involved understood the magnitude of the decision. If they got it wrong again, the Wolverines might slip into long-term irrelevance. Everybody knew who the ideal candidate was, but only few actually believed that Michigan could lure Jim Harbaugh away from the NFL.
Among the believers were former players John Gindia, Eric Caddis, John Giesler, and Al Sinkich, who met at the Pizza House in downtown Ann Arbor to discuss their program's future. They were catered by Jay the Beeve Flanelli, who worked as a dishwasher at the Pizza House but also took care of the former players. He served as a student assistant for Michigan's football team during the 1990s and became friends with many of the players, including Tom Brady. That night, the Letterman and the Beeve decided to get to work trying to make Harbaugh feel welcome. They assembled a complex network of lettermen, donors, regents, and former coaches who worked behind the scenes to lure Harbaugh back to Ann Arbor. During the next month, Harbaugh received calls from dozens of former players, coaches, and other important figures including Tom Brady, John Jansen, Lloyd Carr, and Rick Snyder. The national media was still giving Michigan no chance of hiring Harbaugh, but those who knew him best hung on to hope.
Charles, thanks for calling in. Enjoy the Heisman weekend and good luck in Kansas City. And as this music shows, go Blue.
Oh, man, there's music to my ears, man. Always great talking to you.
Same here, Charles.
Rich.
There's Charles Woodson saying there's a chance. Not a great chance. Not a Dumb and Dumber chance. But there's a chance. There's a chance. Jimmy, come home.
Heading into Christmas, San Francisco had lost 4 straight games. This slide ended their playoff hopes and effectively sealed Harbaugh's fate with the 49ers. Michigan insiders became increasingly optimistic about his chances of landing in Ann Arbor.
Michigan's fan blog site, MGoBlog, provided daily updates of the search process. During Christmas break, I spent every day on that website. I tried not to get my hopes up too high, but it was really hard to do because every day brought more good news.
By December 26th, MGoBlog was reporting it's happening. Michigan fans geared up for the official word from the university, holding their breath. Meanwhile, the Michigan Athletic Department planned for a major announcement on the 30th.
It is the day the Michigan fans have waited years for. Jim Harbaugh coming home and has become the university's 20th head football coach.
Please join me in welcoming Jim to his first press conference as the Jay, Ira, and Nikki Harris family head coach of the University of Michigan, Jim Harbaugh.
I was reminded of another very special word when I was driving into Ann Arbor this morning, and that word is homecoming. I have thought about that, dreamed about that since the time I was a young lad. And you have my pledge that I will carry forward the tradition of excellence of the University of Michigan football program.
You couldn't pick a better day to be a Michigan fan. To get the best coach in the pros and college to come to the University of Michigan, it's a game changer, not only for, I think, college athletics, but certainly the Big Ten and certainly Ann Arbor. It's a game changer for the university.
This means a whole new legacy to the Michigan program, and bringing a familiar name back to the state is just wonderful.
I think he's a great coach, and he can help Michigan to a better future and help them win more football games.
Some viewed Harbaugh as the prodigal son who had returned. Others called him the savior of Michigan football.
Hey, as I was out last night in East Lansing, as a matter of fact, somebody asked me if I was going to come to Ann Arbor and see the Messiah. I'm wondering how comfortable or uncomfortable you are with this perception that you're the savior of Michigan football.
I'm not comfortable with that at all, as I said.
Regardless if he was comfortable with it or not, he was welcomed as a savior by a sold-out crowd in Chrysler Arena.
Nobody.
The pursuit of Harbaugh was over, but Harbaugh Mania was just heating up. His influence could be seen throughout Ann Arbor, especially at the university's merchandise stores. We went to Moe's Sports Shop in the Emden to check out the influence Harbaugh had on the products they sold.
Lean and mean, we're gonna reign supreme. We are the Wolverines, you won't forget our name. We'll
Harbaugh added to his legend by embarking on a series of off-season adventures, popping up all over the country like Forrest Gump.
Jim Harbaugh is already having the year of his life, winning over Ann Arbor and really the world as a whole. So let's go over his greatest hits. He was the first base coach for the Oakland A's, talked about loving Judge Judy and putting her on the Supreme Court, talked about loving whole milk, not that candy-ass 2% stuff, ate pizza very happily at a Michigan game, told everybody to think like an Easter egg, talked about recruiting his wife by calling her 9 times to wear her down for a date, replicated a recruit's prom poster to recruit said recruit to Michigan, and if that's not enough, took off his shirt at a satellite camp.
Ultimately, Jim Harbaugh will be judged based on how his teams perform on the field. If his track record and first year are any indication of what is to come, then he will someday join Bo Schembechler among the great coaches in Michigan history. Fans were captivated by the story of how their program brought their favorite son back home, but they are also thrilled to see their team winning again. When you combine a great coach with a crazy personality and a rabid fan base, you get Harbaugh Mania.